Hey guys, how's it going? Back again. There's nothing too new going on right now. The new set Attack of the Deep comes out in 3 weeks, so there's a lot to be excited for that, but there's not really too many spoilers other than apparently there's like a skill card that's to do with viruses and a couple of cards that spoiled like Blade Knight, Magician of Faith, Dust Tornado, which is a huge one because I hate playing against people that use Dice Foon and roll even when they roll just to hit one, it's really annoying because they're playing a card that's essentially like Snipe Hunter. It's pretty bad. And there's no upsides, and then when they hit the roll, I think it's for 5, where you can hit 2 cards. Yeah, that's super annoying. So hopefully Dust Tornado phases out Dice Foon. I think Trap Jammer's still going to be played, but what else will that phase out? It's probably going to phase out Twister in most scenarios, so there's that, Attack of the Deep in 3 weeks. But until then, I wanted to show you guys, this is probably the final deck I'm going to mess around with the current state of the game right now. And it's actually Harpies, which is probably weird to hear because not a lot of people are talking about like a pure Harpie deck. And that's because I think whenever I see one, or people try to build one, it includes like Harpie Lady Sisters, incorporates the Triangle Ecstasy Spark, and a whole bunch of dead draws, and it just doesn't seem very consistent or competitive. But I wanted to put my spin on Harpies and give you guys my take on it because I actually think this card is insane. If you're facing a meta where there's no Blue Eyes, if Blue Eyes is phased out in your area, I would honestly say this is probably the best deck. If you're going into a tournament where it's unknown meta, or you have a chance to play Blue Eyes, or you have to go undefeated in that tournament to win, and you can't afford to lose to Blue Eyes, I would stick to a different deck. Personally, I pick Amazon Harpie. But if I'm going into a tournament where I can lose one, to a random Blue Eyes player who's going to get phased out before top cut, or if I know no one's playing Blue Eyes, I definitely think this is the best deck. It's just the best grindy deck. It has the most defense, the most tilt cards. Hunting Ground is insane. Harpie Lady 1 is actually pretty insane too, especially with Hunting Ground because it goes up to 18. But I'm just going to start the profile off. So we got 3 Harpie Lady 1s. As you know, you can only play 3 any of Harpie, so you can't play like 3 1s and a couple 2s or something like that. And I chose this one because the attack boost is huge. If you have just 2 alone, it's at 1900, which is really hard to get over. It's going to force out a lot of tilt cards. Even at 1600, it's bigger than Swordswoman without Village. It ties with Sage, or it beats Sage. So it's just a really good number. I realized that just playing it with Amazons, 16 is huge, and in this deck, if you can get it up to 19, that's amazing. If you have Hunting Ground with it, just 1, that's 18, and that's huge. If you have Hunting Ground and Harpie Lady 1, a second copy, that's 2100. It gets out of control really fast. So this card's definitely the best Harpie Lady in every deck. Next we have Birdface. I wasn't running this originally. I was running 1 Sisters just as an extra target for like Egotist, or just even drawing it to trigger the skill, which I'm playing Tribal Synergy, by the way. I don't think I said that before. But this card's actually pretty good. 16-16, which are solid stats, just like Harpie Lady 1. Like I said, it's solid. It's even better in the defense category because even if they tilt it with a Kunai, Windstorm, or Sphere Karibo, Woman can't get over it. And it's just solid. It's a good set turn 1. And it adds Harpie Lady to your hand, which honestly has been better than if... Like, let's say Birdface says when it's destroyed, special summons a Harpie Lady, like a Recruiter monster, like a Mystic Tomato or something. It's been better to add it to my hand so I can trigger my skill. So it's just extra copies of Harpie Lady number 1. It's solid on its own. If it draws out a tilt card and then gets destroyed by battle, it's technically a -1 for your opponent. So it's pretty good. I like a lot that it adds to the hand. I'm going to play 3 Swordswomen. This was Sage at the beginning, but I realized that this deck just destroys back row grindy decks anyways, even without Sage. Excuse me. And playing Swordswoman as the Amazon card gives me a chance against Blue Eyes. Like I said, I wouldn't play this deck if you know you're going to face Blue Eyes, but I mean, it could just come up. You can't control everything. You're not always going to know. And if you do choose to play this deck, this is going to give you a little bit of a chance. You're still probably going to lose game 1, but it'll give you a better chance once you side deck. So 3 swordswomen's really good. It's also easy to rack up damage with big harpies and boosted guys, which is something I forgot to mention with Birdface. He goes up to 18 with Harpie's Hunting Ground, so that's huge. But just being able to get like squeeze out a little bit extra damage with her effect has come in clutch sometimes. And then we've got 3 Sphere Karibos. Basically, there's no other monsters you want to play. You resolve the tribal synergy skill enough with 3 Amazons. And then we're essentially playing 3 or 5 Harpie Lady number 1s. So we're going to round it out now with the support. So we play Sphere Karibo. We're already maxing Windstorm and Kunai. So this is the next best thing. When you have the bigger monsters, you're playing the tilt game with your opponent. So they're going to tilt your monsters to defense, where they can actually be killed. You tilt your opponent's monsters to defense, your guys go back to attack mode, you win the game. As many times as you have to go back and forth that way, having the Sphere Karibos, it's going to put you over the top of most decks, because a lot of decks are just playing Windstorms, or maybe these, or maybe these. They're not playing all these, so we have the 9 tilt cards right here. And then other than that, I guess I just did the trap cards, so we're going to talk about the spell cards. So 2 Harpie's Hunting Ground. You want to see one, you never want to see the second one. You want to see it as early as possible. 3 is going to be too much, I think. You're going to draw multiples, just like Amazon Village. It's just really not good, even though your skill gives you a +3 if you're drawing into dead cards. What's the point of playing the skill? So 2 Hunting Ground, super important. Really just all around really good. It's like main decking multiple Trap Jammers, which is insane. So obviously I don't think I have to explain it. I guess I do have to probably go over 1 Egotist. It is one of the best cards in the deck because it automatically brings out a second Harpie Lady number 1. So in 1 turn, you have 2 monsters on the board. They're 1900 attack each. For 1, that's a lot of damage. For 2, you set up your Harpies so that they're really big. So that's why I'm playing the 1 Egotist. Really good. You want to draw it. So I was considering 2, but it's pretty bad when you don't have a Harpie. So I was having situations where I had bird-faced Egotist, and eventually I'd be able to get it off, but I mean, it was just kind of subpar to have it at the time. I don't think 2 Egotists is bad. You could definitely probably cut a Sphere Karibo for an Egotist. A second Egotist, I'm sorry. But yeah, if you do that, you're kind of running the risk of drawing a dead Egotist, because your first one is going to get, it needs one of these, and it's going to get the second one out of the deck. So then in your deck is going to be a second Egotist and your last Harpie Lady number 1. So you're kind of trying to draw the Egotist first, and I don't think I want to play that kind of game. So the 1 Egotist is really great when you see it. If you don't see it, I mean, you're still playing a lot of good cards, and you're going to see it eventually. And if you do see it early, it's kind of a wrap. It's that good. So I guess that's all done. So I do have a side deck built. It's going to look kind of weird, but just keep in mind that this deck has a really good matchup against all the decks that aren't Blue Eyes, so I was going to have to dedicate some space to Blue Eyes. So first off, I'll start with Possessed Dark Soul, really good against Relinquished. I got recommended this in the comment section in one of my videos. Just playing the 1 random Possessed Dark Soul to draw into against Relinquished is just honestly so good. It just takes 1 slot in your side deck. You probably don't need it, but I really like just having it. Feels like a guarantee. So 1 Possessed Dark Soul. Play 1 Blast Held by a Tribute. Again, the deck is playing Harpie's Hunting Ground. You're going to pretty much destroy GKs, but this is kind of like a guarantee. You don't really need it. If you have another card you'd like to side deck instead, feel free to. Obviously you can do whatever you want, but I wouldn't fault you for taking this out. It's not needed. Just another guarantee card for a matchup. And the last 3 cards in my side deck are 3 Heirloom, which is really weird since I only play 3 Amazon Swordswoman. But unless you guys have another idea of how to beat Blue Eyes, this is all I can think of. And like I said, these aren't needed. So if you wanted to try to make these more consistent, you could play like 2 other Amazons, so like maybe 2 Sage or something, and that way you can have the Sages to put in over the Swordswoman when you're playing against non-Blue Eyes, and then you just have 5 targets for your Heirlooms. But yeah, I mean, I've racked my brain. Golden Apples, the super rare dragon card that you equip to a warrior, gain 700, and then you can kill Blue Eyes. But I feel like Heirloom's better because it makes your monster survive, and it has to be a warrior anyway, so the same thing. I guess you could play 3 heirlooms and then play 2 of the swords and then have 5 equip cards. That might be good. I'm not really sure. You could also try to play 2 villages so that when you do draw Swordswoman, it's going to get through a champion's vigilance. So honestly, maybe this isn't the best. It is nice to have, but if you want to replace these with village, 2 villages to guarantee your swordsman going through, or 2 dragon sword super rare cards, or 2 sages, something like that. Basically, you can dedicate the whole side deck to Blue Eyes because this deck wrecks all the other decks. But that's it. So Harpie deck profile. Hopefully by the time I make my next video, we have some spoilers or at least a little bit of new information on Attack of the Deep. And I'll talk to you guys then. See ya.